Hey guys, welcome back to One Else Pub. Well, as you can see, I have another knife here on the bar top, and I'm going to be doing a little initial impression here of it. As you can see, it's the Benchmade 940 Osborne. Also going to be doing a little bit of a Mea Culpa to Benchmade because I've never really been a Benchmade fan, frankly. For whatever reason, their knives just never appealed to me. When I would look into their offerings, I was always just like, man, that's a bunch of boring knives. I've got no interest. The access lock just seemed gimmicky to me. I could have cared less. I know now that it's not a gimmick, but when I kind of first started looking into them, like, nah, I didn't like them. I was very much a frame lock only kind of guy, or liner lock, and wasn't really much interested in the access lock, and just in general, just Benchmade just didn't really do much for me. And I just ignored the brand, frankly. Just went in other directions. And I've never owned one. This is my first one ever. And it really wasn't until a few months ago when I happened to subscribe to a channel here on YouTube known as TheApostleP, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with that, that Rob, the proprietor of the TheApostleP channel, kept trucking 940s across the review table there, whether it was his or Campfire Talks or Wrangler Stars, ones he had in for sharpening and whatnot, or his own, or the trials and tribulations of his own personal one where he kind of tweaked the blade and had to send it into Benchmade and have him replace the blade and whatnot. At any rate, the point was he just kept having these 940 videos, and I just kept watching them. And after a while, I kind of started thinking, well, maybe I should check this little green Benchmade out. And made some comments on Rob's videos, and he really highly recommended the knife, and conversed back and forth with him privately, and he really highly recommended the knife, and I told him I'm not really a Benchmade fan, and he really highly recommended the knife. So I figured, you know what, this knife comes pretty highly recommended. I'm going to take a look at it. I will be honest with you, I didn't really think it was worth the price you typically see them for. You see them for 140, 150 bucks, pretty regularly. I've seen them as high as 180, 190, but 140, 150, that's pretty normal price range. I didn't think they were worth that. So I decided to keep an eye out, online on like Blade Forums and the USN, and see if I could find one in their for sale forums. And lo and behold, last week on the USN, this one popped up. For sale, used, for $95 shipped to my door. That included PayPal fees and everything. 95 bucks out of my pocket, Benchmade to my door. So I pulled the trigger. Now I have actually had it in my pocket the last couple of days, so I really just packaged it back up for presentation purposes here. But the irony is, let me get this stuff out of the way here. The irony is that, I didn't want to spend $140, $150 on this knife. Now that I've had it in my hand a couple of days, it's worth it. I should have just gone ahead and bought this several months ago, got it out of the way, or better yet, several years ago, and got it out of the way. This knife is worth 140, 150 bucks all day long. No qualms about spending that on it now if I had to. If I lost this today or tomorrow, if I put this in my pocket and lost it tomorrow, I'd buy another one, and I'd buy it new. I'd just go, no, just give it to me. I'd just send it on over. I'll take it. It's worth that, and I feel very fortunate to have gotten it for less than that. You can see that it is indeed used. You can see the Krylon clip has got wear on it, which frankly is indicative of maybe really only a couple of months of use. These things just wear off right away, it seems. But there's just a couple of little marks on the titanium. You can see maybe like right there and stuff, or not the titanium, but the aluminum. Excuse me. Other than that, the green is all intact. The corners aren't all worn off. It's in really nice shape. It's got a couple of scratches on the blade. I don't know if you can see them in the light or not. A couple of little minor, used scratches, not a big deal. It does have, strangely enough, if you look right here, let me see if I can, there we go. See those two grind marks? Those are actually pretty deep grind marks. Those are factory grind marks, and you can actually feel this one here, the right side one, you can feel with your thumb. Now this one you can't, but they are definitely visible, and a little bit of a overzealous grinding there going on when they were making the knife, or grinding the primary grind there. Yeah, no big deal. But just kind of something interesting to note. Another kind of thing to notice, since I'm kind of getting my gripes out here, and these are really the only real two gripes I have on this knife, is that if you look close, let me get in here close, this line right here, this grind line that grinds that leads down to the tip here, right here on the spine. I don't know if you can tell that, but it's not quite level. It's actually just a little bit angled this way. And again, you know, for the money I paid, $95, I'm not complaining at all. However, had I spent 150 or 140, 150 or more for this knife, brand new, and it showed up with those kind of, you know, heavy grind marks and that slightly unlevel grind right there at the tip, I probably would have just sent it back to whoever I bought it from and said, hey, you know, this one's not up to fit and finish standard, send me another one. But I'm not going to worry about it for this knife, of course, obviously. But that happens to the best of makers, so it's not a big deal. And frankly, if it bothers me enough, I could send this knife back to Benchmade, and for $25, they'll replace the blade, and I'd still be into it for less than a new one. So, but I'm not worried about it, because this knife is going to be a user, and it's going to get beat up and bruised, and the corners are all going to wear off, and over the years this is just going to be one of those knives that I'm just not even going to worry about it. I'm just going to use this thing and scratch up the blade anyway, so who cares? You know, this is just one of those knives I can tell from the moment I got it in my hand, I was like, yep, this is a keeper. There's a few knives that are just that way, you know, the paramilitary too, my Hinderers, the Sabenza when I got that in my hand, you know, the Spyderco Domino, you know, there's others, but there's just certain knives, as soon as you get them, you go, you know what, I'm going to always have this knife. This one I'm not going to sell. This one I know I'm going to keep. And this is one of those knives. I'm just always, if I lose this, like I said, tomorrow, I just buy another one. So, but I really plan on just, you know, having this forever. And this is one of those knives that's worthy of long-term stand in any collection. Any knife guy should have one of these. This is a classic knife right here. This is a classic EDC knife. An interesting thing, though, is that, speaking of EDC, and that's its primary role, obviously, is that you know, I tend to EDC, my primary EDC now tends to be a little bit bigger knife. Like I said, the Paramilitary 2 or the Hinderer XM18 or the Chris Reeve Sabenza, you know, kind of bigger, chunkier knives, or the Mannix 2 is another one I like to carry a lot. Bigger, chunkier knives. And this is a little bit slimmer, smaller, discreet knife. But there was a time when this was actually the blade or the knife profile that I really preferred. And bigger knives I didn't care for. I've kind of changed over the last couple of years and started to get into bigger knives, but there was a time when this would have been absolutely what I was looking for. And I still like it a lot, don't get me wrong. But there was a time when this would have been the perfect knife. For many, many, many years, 12, 15 years, this was my primary EDC. It's a Kershaw Vapor frame lock, $15 special with OS 6A steel and not titanium, but yeah, nice. No, not for $15. Stainless steel, you know, frame lock, and you can see that I used and abused this knife for years. This thing literally rode in my pocket and did everything. This was a knife and a multi-tool and a this and a that and a screwdriver and a whatever else, and it's full of years of abuse and use and fruitless attempts at hand sharpening before I got into better sharpening systems. But my point is that this was, for many, many, many years, this was the size and the kind of the profile of blade that I wanted to carry EDC. And when that was the case, this, had I got my hands on one of these at that time, I would have been all over this. And it's a little bit bigger than this. You know, the Benchmade's a little bit bigger than the Kershaw here, but not by much. And once I got my hands on this, you know, with S30V versus, you know, OS 6A, and aluminum versus titanium, and the access lock versus the frame lock. Now, I am a big frame lock fan, so I wouldn't have necessarily thought that that was an upgrade, but from a pure fun factor, yeah, the access lock is a heck of an entertaining lock. So my point is that there was a time when this was exactly the kind of knife I wanted to carry, and had I stumbled across or gotten one of these in my hands at that time, I would have bought this. Well, I take it back. I probably wouldn't have, because when I was buying a $15 knife, a $150 knife would have sent me running for the hills. But had I gotten my hands on one, I sure as heck would have wanted one. And it's just kind of ironic that for all those years that I kind of ignored Benchmade and just kind of acted like I wasn't interested in them, had I actually spent the time and looked into one and put this one in my hand, I would have discovered that instead of not being interested, I would have been dearly in love with one of them. So it's just a little bit of irony there. Just the knife itself, I love green. It's my favorite color, and this is a great color green. Nice sculpted aluminum handles. Ergonomics are fantastic. Yeah, I wish they had a little bit of jimping there, I'll be straight up, but no big deal. For an EDC knife, you don't necessarily have to have that jimping right there. It's really more of a tactile thing for me, a habitual tactile thing. And my thumb kind of seeks that out, if for no other reason than indexing, and I kind of would like to have some right there, because that's kind of a nice grip for me. Back here is fine too, and I will use it that way as well, but I do like to cheat up onto the blade some. And a little bit of jimping there wouldn't hurt, but no big deal. I'm not gonna make a big deal about it. Love the purple titanium backspacer. Who'd have thought green and purple would go together, but it does. I dig it. Of course, there's the clip. Like I said, the kind of the Krylon clip here. I actually, on the advice of Rob TheApostleP, contacted Benchmade customer service today and asked them about getting a Parkerized split arrow clip, and lo and behold, they said yes, that would not be a problem at all. They'd get it right out to me. I asked them, great, how much? They said no charge. I'm like, that's awesome. How much for shipping though? No charge. Everything's free. We'll just send it out to you. Just one of the benefits, they said, of being a Benchmade customer and having a Benchmade knife. So how incredibly awesome is that from a customer perspective, or a customer service perspective? Really impressed. So again, a little bit of a mea culpa to Benchmade. Not that I ever said you didn't have good customer service, but I just wasn't interested in your brand, and now I've got a knife that I dearly love, and I've been treated very well by your customer service. So absolutely mea culpa. I had you guys all wrong. So yeah, really dig the knife. Excellent ergonomics, excellent presentation. Love the reverse tanto blade. Love that swedge they cut in the top of the spine. I mean, that is just so cool. Nice dual thumb studs. I'm gonna have a better clip soon. Really enjoy this access lock. Such a fun knife to flick and to play with. Yeah, I was wrong. That's a dang nice knife. I shouldn't have resisted it for so long. I was told that I should get one, and I watched videos and people recommended and raved about this, and I thought, what's the big deal? I was wrong. This is a great knife. If you don't have one of these and you think you don't want one, you're probably wrong. If you think you do want one and you're afraid to pull the trigger on the full price, yeah, if you can find one for $95 like I did, and you're patient, that's great. Go for it. But spend the real money on it. Spend the full price. You won't be sorry. This is a great knife. I can tell already I'm going to love it. I'm going to conditionally highly recommend it. I say conditionally only from the standpoint that, if something should go tragically wrong between now and, the time that I get a little bit more time under my belt with it. But I really am completely confident that's not going to be the case. This is a great knife. Highly recommended. That's 1 ounce, 2 cents. Keep the change. Sláinte.